Well, welcome everybody. This is the Evolution DAP demo number 3. Today we have just a few people on the UX POC team for the Dash Core Group Incorporated. Myself, Chuck Williams, I'm the UI UX tech lead for the Dash Core Group. Joshua, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Joshua. I am a web developer working on the UX POC team also.
Chris?
Hey, I'm Chris. I'm a UX designer on the UX POC team.
And Suba?
I'm Suba. I'm the UX designer at the UX POC team.
So with that, I'll be sharing my screen, and I will go straight into some of the work that we did in our last sprint. Now, what we did is just to kind of set this up. One of the things that we did was we had this best of breed competition, and what we did is Chris, Suba, and myself basically took a crack at designing a home screen. Given all the information that we had, we went off on our own to be creative and come up with a home screen presentation. So what you're about to see is my implementation of a home screen. And I tend to work in HTML, CSS, in this case React and CSS. So I just went that route and tried to put together a vision for a functional home screen. So with no further ado, I'm going to dive into that. There's a minor update here that Joshua has made. We brought in a CSS library framework called Semantic UI that helps us to implement components in a very easy way that look nice. This is my implementation of some of those basic features that we talked about. So at the top, we've got Aiden Abernathy. In this case, this is a randomly generated piece. So if I go back and forth and navigate around, things will change over time. Aiden Abernathy, his full name would be Aiden Abernathy 686361. Right now, we're working through the idea of adding suffixes to end users, and the average user is captured 30 times per day on video. And so just to add a minor amount of security in case this screen is visible at some time, it's presumed that the full path, the full name, will be something that's valuable. This is going to be your blockchain username, right? So we don't want necessarily the whole thing to be visible at all times, in my opinion. So this is a way to kind of turn it off and on and share it only when you need it. Of course, we've got the dash balance here. The expectation being I would be able to click here to buy more dash if I want to. And that is something that we're working very hard to try to implement. Right now, I've just got it linking back out to cex.io just as a demonstration, where is one location where you can buy dash. That's just the website implementation there. Of course, underneath that, we've got the dollar amount translated in the current price. That current price probably isn't accurate. It's not pulling from any data locations. So this is just demo. And that kind of comprises the header piece. Again, another randomly generated user. Log in again. Randomly generated user. Click the dash to buy dash. And then presumably we would click on this dollar in this view, and you would be able to change it by clicking on the dollar amount and you get a drop-down selection. That's not implemented in this demo. Over on the right here, we've got a profile picture, simulated profile picture. I should be able to click this, and that's going to take me to my profile view, where I could maybe change my display name or select what gender I am on a sliding scale. In this case, a range scale between male and female. I think I'm right around this range because I'm not a man's man, but I'll meet women in the middle. And then just down here we have a kind of a Twitter bio kind of tagline kind of thing. And since this is data and there's going to be fees involved with this data, we're doing kind of a pre-calculation based on how big you want it. And we're not limiting to a specific character set in this case, just as an idea. And the more you type, the costly it's going to be for the miners to get that included into a block and stored on Dash Drive. So that's some of the ideas that we're kind of exploring there. Coming back to the home screen, we've got the send and receive. The send button, imagining this is working this with my thumb. Personally, I send a lot more than I receive money. So the send is, it's on the right. Most people tend to be right-handed. It's accessible with a big fat thumb press. And then you can send and scan and navigate through your standard sending operations. Receiving, it's coming back to me. It's a smaller allocation of real estate. And so just trying to balance that out with the amount of use that might be happening. So from a component design perspective, I'm working in the interactions. Down below here, we've got a list of notifications, and with a minor instruction here to swipe right to remove, and a list of the numbers of notification that you have received since last you visited and did not swipe away. So these are all like unswiped notifications. Here we're presenting an idea of a fully blown presentation of a normal Dash transaction. I recognize that this might be a lot of information for the average user. So this would be probably the most expanded version that you might be able to configure in your settings, where you show the number of Dash network confirmations with a progress bar, the receiving address, and the amount converted in dollars. And again, the amount of Dash coming into you. And we've got a few of those demonstrated here. My assumption would be that you'd be able to go to settings and turn off a lot of this. Like, I don't want to see notifications. I don't want to see the address. And then you just see the amount and perhaps the amount in dollars and probably a date time that needs to be added in all cases here. So those are some of the kinds of notifications that you already received today on the Dash network. Now here below, we have a request for payment. Now, this will be something new that's going to be coming with the Evolution platform, where you have a user with whom you've had contact. That's why I have a picture of them and their username. And they're requesting a payment of this amount of Dash. And in this case, I can approve it, decline it, or dismiss. Dismiss meaning I'm not going to do anything about this. Same thing as a swipe in this case, swipe to the right. Approve it means I'm going to go through the process of sending this amount of Dash out of my wallet. Decline means that the network will receive a broadcast that I am not accepting this payment request. And so there will be an on-chain transmission, I believe, of some kind that will say, I have declined this payment, so that we have auditability there. And then we've got a bunch of those from various users asking for money. And then down here, we have some contact requests and just, some graphic treatment to say, oh, here's something different. And this is Alva Bernier asking to connect, get a profile picture, approve, decline, or dismiss. And then I got another notification here that this person accepted my request to connect. Now that I've connected, I can send a message directly that could be end-to-end encrypted over the Masternode network as a third-party witness, or request payment directly from them, because once we've established a connection, requesting payments are something that will be very easy to do. And then some additional incoming payments, notification that I sent something. Now here is a contact request that I sent, and just a notification that the response is pending. Presumably, I would be able to cancel this request or just dismiss this notification. Again, same as swiping right. Here is an uncommon or special kind of transaction. In this case, Reese has requested a payment proposal from a wallet that we share. So in this scenario, I've already established a wallet, the shared wallet with Reese, and he's suggesting a payment proposal in this amount of Dash from this shared wallet. And depending on the structure of the wallet, it could be a 2 of 3 or a 3 of 7 or whatever it is. But now I know that needs some more approvals in order to pass, and I might be able to deny it or accept it in that case. Some of those details are being worked out yet, and whether or not we're going to include shared wallets even is still under debate for the MVP release. Just to be clear. And so one of the things that came out in the recent dips was the ability to register Masternode operators. So here's a notification where Ruby has registered me as a Masternode operator, and maybe there's some Dash involved with that. So what that means is we've identified 3 different kinds of people in the Masternode network now. There are owners, there are operators, and there are voters, and you can identify a separate public key for each of those roles. We're expecting that you would be notified if you were registered as one of those roles. So this would be one of those notifications where that would land. And of course, you'd be able to search for that in your history, where you'd be able to filter for different types of notifications and so on and so forth. And then here's some other special transactions. Here's a 4 of 3 wallet, which is completely illegitimate. You can't have a 4 of 3 wallet. Bad calculation there. This is just a demo, and so on and so forth. So, and then down at the bottom here, just some layout ideas. We have a way to navigate to history, a way to navigate to contacts and manage that, and a way to navigate to settings and manage that. These are the kind of the general requirements that we had in our demo. Regardless of whether or not you like the design, these are functional components. There is CSS available here, and changing the CSS and design to other implementations that you'll see from Suba and Chris is the direction that I intend to go. With that, unless my team has any questions or comments, I'd be glad to hear it at this point. Otherwise, we can move on.
I do have a question, Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
With up higher in your activity list, I noticed there are different colors in progress bars. What are those colors representative of? Right.
So in this case, this is just a standards progress bar. At 0, it's green. Once you get 1 confirmation, it's a certain % complete, and it's red. And it basically fades from more red to more green as it progresses through its levels of completion. If you saw 5 and 6 network confirmations, it would be like almost green and very much green. So it fades from a red to orange, yellow, green.
I love that. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's just a progress bar. So with that, we'll move into Suba's demo, and I will switch over to him. If you'll share your screen, Suba.
Yeah, let me share my screen now. So first thing I want to achieve in this is like with the apps now getting more of the apps getting the dark screen as an option is getting more popular. I want that to happen in the evolution thing. So the user will always have an opportunity to change the entire app to a dark theme, and so that all the pages will be in like both dark and light themes available. And with that, let me go into the details of this home screen. Starting with the home screen, just the user who it is, and the user can either click here and directly go to his profile page, or there's a profile link available at the navigation bar. So at the bottom of this, there is the account balance. Right now, the design is only for a single wallet thing, and here we have the dash balance available with up to 8 decimals, as detailed as possible. And then below that is with the locally set currency by the user has been set. I mean, if the user has not been set, there will be like a default selected as USD. And the user can able to like quickly view like the value in different currencies by clicking on this drop-down arrow, and then he can able to select those local currency from there itself. And below this is like a very little highlighted view transactions link. By clicking on this, the user can be directed to the history of the transactions happening on this wallet. And below that, so these all this are associated with the wallet. And below this is the most frequently used send and receive buttons. It's like the send dash, receive dash. I try to represent them through the icons as much as possible. And once we come kind of like, we can call it as like a notifications or an alerts. With respect to evolution can be many things. I mean, right now in this design, as we designed this one, there is only one DAP which has been integrated into this design. One that's being the contact app, where you can able to send a contact request to a different Dash user, and you can like receive request. But it can happen more than that. Like sometimes we can get like chats, or like remote authentication requests, or it can be like a combination of lot of more dApps, which we cannot imagine what's going to happen now. So what we try to do is like capture all the activities that's been happening on all these dApps under this alert section. Like anything, for example, with respect to this contact thing, if someone sends you a request, this will be here. If you have received some dash from some people, it will be here. And we try to like capture as much as like a very like top, maybe like 5 to 10 notifications will be here, as much as the user can see. If they want to see like all the activities that has been happened across all the dApps, then the user can able to click on the view all button here, and that will take to a dedicated alerts page where the user can able to filter each of the notifications based on the dApp that has been associated with. So that's been here. Here, and also like for each dApp, we will have like an icon. The iconography will represent like which this notification has been associated to which tab. For example, here in this example, this represents the contacts app, and these represents the transactions. These can also be seen at the bottom navigation bar here, and also the send and receive buttons here. We try to classify these icons to the users as quickly as possible through iconography. One more thing which I want to show here is like once we send or receive money, we know that we need at least like 6 confirmations to happen to finalize on that transaction. But right now, like a new user, he might not know what a confirmation is at all. So we just try to classify them as like confirmed or pending. If the transaction has been like gone through 6 confirmations, then it means like confirmed. If not, if it's like less than 6, it's going to be like pending. And once this, if for example, if a user has got some dash from someone, and if it's still in pending, this balance will not be reflected in his main account balance. Only when it has been confirmed, this will be reflected over here. And so which means like until it's confirmed, the user doesn't have the authority to spend it. And so that's all. So right now we're just focusing on like two apps, like transactions and then the contacts. And below here is right now we have like a navigation bar. We have a dedicated profile page because that's what Evolution is compared to any other cryptocurrency wallet. Like an individual preference, like personalization, takes more space compared to any other wallet. And then right now we have a contacts tab here, but as we move forward, when we have like more than like 4 or 5 dApps available, we don't need to have this thing linked in this navigation bar here. It can go up to this hamburger icon with overlay of dApp list, which we have to see as we progress. And we have dedicated settings, and we wanted this Evolution to be like more and more educational as possible, because like people want to know what's happening. Like any single feature, for example, it's a contacts or a chat or authentication, they want to know like what it is, want to like quickly learn it. So we have a dedicated help section here. Once they click in, they can able to quickly learn about. They can spend like a whole lot of time just learning about the Evolution in detail at all. So that's all I have it here, and you can see both the dark and light screens. And that's pretty much it. Any more questions?
I have a comment. Thanks, Suba, for sharing with us. I really like the alert section, and I think it's important for our audience to know that yes, these alerts can be alerts that happen not just within the Evolution dApp, but across the Dash network for any number of other dApps that involve your registered username. We imagine that there may be ride-sharing applications and Masternode management applications and many other different applications that will arise on top of the network. And this could be a hub for all that kind of information. And I think it's a great place to capture that. And also interoperability between those apps, as you mentioned, Suba, can be definitely integrated between different kinds of apps. For instance, other applications that like a ride-sharing app that wanted to pay, they could choose to integrate that payment functionality or leverage the existing Evolution dApp for the execution of payments, which I think is a wonderful thing. So yeah, great. Good job, Suba. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah.
Hey, Chuck, with a question for you on what you were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
where does Dash stand in terms of innovation regarding the ability to kind of create those centralized experiences across that spectrum? Is that this is kind of maybe my ignorance, but maybe other people might be wondering this too. Is that a normal thing for some of the, everybody else, or is that a very unique situation that we find ourselves in?
Well, I might be misunderstanding the question or statement, but I think that interoperability is kind of the opposite of centralization. Where when you create an application that allows you to view other things, that's really kind of an opening, a way to offer messages across different types of applications. The Evolution platform is providing a network of payments and information, and it's most of that information and everything that lands on the blockchain will be public and open source. So all of that is accessible to any app, any DAP built on top of the Evolution platform.
I love that.
So next up we have Chris.
I'm just going to share my screen right now. Let me know when it's kicking in.
I think we see you.
Okay, so you see the blue there?
Yep.
So my design and approach is a little bit different in that it took the direction of the end user in a very simple, everybody else did too. I just wanted to create something extremely, extremely simple. So to kind of sidestep away from the heavy, more technical layers that you encounter immediately and go towards more of a human approach. So I'll walk through some of these elements so they make sense. And piece by piece here, some of these are also self-explanatory. So just to start right here in the middle, I did not use icons. That does not mean that I don't think there should be. I just had a very difficult time identifying, and so we need some good iconic work there. And I think across the board, icons do speak volumes. So here's the idea behind this approach. I wanted to make something that allowed people to feel like they were both getting their hand held and also in a stable environment. I find that and we could all agree that we would love to see the crypto world being more accessible by the average person. And I believe that, along with most of us, that part of that technique is creating things that a person wants to experience and isn't intimidating. So some of those maneuvers here are to create a very human element on the screen. One of the other elements that were applied to create that is this little fade on the number. So you could tap it and get your full balance, but it would automatically just kind of reset back to a number that people are a little bit more comfortable with in terms of the amount of digits. It's just kind of an exploration in minimizing data overload. And I think if this doesn't create major problems, this helps the average person transition over to what cryptocurrency kind of is. With this, you see the current balance in your local currency and the ability to get to your account history, much like Suba's, and I think in Chuck's, you can tap that and switch that local currency. Okay, so another element of this design is the ability to have interactive panels at the bottom, that little cards that can share with the end user ideas and concepts about Dash and about the cryptocurrency world. Here's the thing: this stuff is designed specifically to let an average person feel comfortable in an environment that may not be comfortable. Common questions like buying Dash from a credit card, or adding a new account, or getting Dash from your mom. I don't know if that shows up on our support forums too much, but there's the ability to communicate what is cryptocurrency, right, with a little video. So here's what these are. These are ways to make a user feel connected with unknowns, question marks, and confusions and they're very human elements. The cool thing about them is that they're on the first page here just for exploration and discovery purposes. So when you tap one, it pulls up that entire environment. So these environments can all be different. They could be everything from a quiz to an interactive experience to just some information. Like in this case, it's kind of set up just to be like a 4-paneled informational swipe. And then you could knock that back down to the main menu, and go back to home up here. And so this is the whole purpose for this is to create a human element, instruct and teach, and let people discover more. With the menu, the ability to drop this down and see that current position they're in now is a very fun, I guess I can use the word fun. It's a fun way to know where you are, but it's also a very effective way to know where you are. And you can scroll through this navigation, which admittedly does need a little bit of work here, but for a first version and concept, it's good in holding the concept there. And this whole idea is designed to say, hey, everyone across the crypto space is asking and saying, we've got to get this to people's grandmothers, right? We want to build this for people's dads. We're looking to create something that the world can use. So any step I believe we take towards making our very complicated and sophisticated systems human and simple, I believe is a step in the right direction. And so this is my attempt at creating that. Unless there's more we need to look at, I think that's probably the best overview quickly there, unless there's questions or comments here.
Yeah, I had a couple comments that I thought might be worthwhile to share with the audience. I'm a big Edward Tufte fan, and he's the author of a book, The Visual Display of Quantitative Information, and a couple of others that are kind of seminal books about presenting information and consolidating information and making information displays useful. And one of the things that he shares about navigation is that there are some basic rules about it. One of them being you should always know where you are, where you've been, and where you can go. And this is probably the most unique solution that I've seen for navigation. And I think with this is both unique and useful because it fulfills those principles and accomplishes the goals of navigation in a very kind of a fun way, as you've said. So I really like that about this particular piece. And I think it's also important for the audience to know, if you didn't catch that, those little panels on the bottom can be fully interactive experiences, meaning they could be whole other apps, whole other dApps that are either installed on your phone or just a part of the Evolution DAP that we've somehow integrated. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there for some very interesting cross-platform interactions or cross-team interactions.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, great work. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I also want to add one comment on this design. There are lots of cryptocurrency wallets out there in the market, and this design is kind of very unique and very much friendly. It reminds me of the app. You can go and click and book for a specific location. Other than that, if you want to go for just explore the experiences which they provide, you can just browse around. This thing, the carousel thing at the bottom, it's kind of for new people. They can just go along this and see what they can do, and it's very unique and refreshing. So.
Yeah, I'll share this story real quick. When I was working on this, I was putting some of the last pieces in place at a Starbucks, and I walked up to a complete stranger and just showed her this screen on my phone. And I said, "What is this?" I mean, I framed it a little better than that, but it wasn't that much different than that question. I didn't say anything about what industry. And she looked at it. She looked at me. She looked at it again. She picked the phone out of my hand, and the first thing she did was she winged these little guys back and forth. It was very intuitive for her. And she goes, She goes, "What is this? Some kind of a Venmo or something?" And so immediately, with no introduction at all, I wasn't wearing a Dash shirt. It doesn't say talk to me about cryptocurrency or anything. She immediately said it looked like, in essence, one of the more popular money and kind of sharing and sending apps. And I thought that was a huge thing.
I'm glad you shared that, Chris, because I wanted to share also that a number of developers on the core team have voiced their appreciation for this particular approach because it is that end user friendliness that a lot of us have been hoping for and looking for. I'm a developer. I'm a UI UX tech lead. I'm a technical lead with UI and UX capabilities, but I making things this simple and this beautiful is really a challenge for me. So I think bringing you on board, Chris, is demonstrating its value in this case. And I think that we have general agreement that, well, I guess I'll go into our next section of our demo video, which is our kind of a Q&A session. We have a few questions that have come up, and one of them that we have is basically, what do we do now that we have these 3 designs? And I just want to share with the audience that what we did was this best of breed competition where we leveraged our skills to put forth something that we thought would be useful and functional for the home screen, and we basically focused very much on the home screen. And now that we have these 3 designs, we're going to select the best traits and merge these efforts. And I think we have a lot of agreement that Chris's presentation is very powerful. And we may or may not be able to leverage that. There has been some consternation expressed from developers about trying to actually implement that navigation, since there probably aren't any stock tools that could be leveraged in that way. But I think with the right amount of focus, it could be done. So we'll be selecting those best traits and merging those. Also, we should receive this week the branding guidelines from Tharp and Clark, and so we expect to unify the look and feel that way. Anybody want to add anything to that before I move on to the next question?
I just want to comment that it's really exciting to see these 3 different approaches and to think about how we can synthesize them into one united design. I think this was a really successful experiment.
Yeah, I agree. So what's next for the UX POC team? Well, we will be shifting our focus to a mobile evolution-enabled wallet, both in terms of development and roadmap alignment and refinement. We have, our product ownership team and our strategic team and our management team working on a long-term strategic vision for our roadmap. And we're trying to make sure that the work that we are delivering is in alignment with those pieces. We have a lot of ideas as we work on these things, and we're trying to collect those ideas into a bucket. And we just want to make sure that those bucketed ideas are in alignment with our roadmap. Sometimes, we might surface ideas that may not align with the roadmap, but we find may be very valuable for end users. And I see it as our job to advocate for those on behalf of end users, should we discover those little tidbits of value that need to be included in the roadmap. So anyway, that's what we'll be doing. Working on some more development and evolution-enabled wallet, moving a little bit more into React Native development, and refining these designs into something cohesive and useful for the rest of the development team to leverage in their individual work. Mm-hmm. Any comments or questions on that before we move on to the next question? All right. So how do the DIPs factor into this work? DIPs, for those who may not know, stands for Dash Improvement Proposals, modeled after the Bitcoin Improvement Proposal process, whereby we write the goals for a protocol in succinct kind of functional layers with abstracts and breakdowns and goals for implementation with specifics on data pieces and so on and so forth. Within the past 2 weeks, the Dash Core Group Incorporated has released the next installment of DIPs 2, 3, and 4, which cover some very base layer special transactions, Masternode deterministic Masternode lists, and I forget the other piece. Forgive me if I'm missing something, but certainly go look those up. Those are available for the public to review and comment on, and even submit pull requests if you think something should change. The UX POC team reviews and reads these DIPs for the integration of ideas and the knowledge of design constraints. Design constraints being what can't we do, what we can do, what we can't do. So we use those DIPs as guidelines for the rules on our designs. Mm-hmm. And then those internal reviews are attended by developers, and the feasibility of what we are proposing is discussed and refined. So that's how the DIPs factor into our work. and we expect to be continuing that process going forward. We didn't really have very many other questions, or I'm sure that there were some comments on the last demo meeting that we might be missing, but if anybody does have any questions, feel free to post in the forums, and we will watch those and respond to any questions that come up in those ways. Anybody else want to add anything before we break up?
Yeah, I'm happy to join discussions of this on the Dash Nation Discord chat also.
Right on. Thanks, Joshua. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks everybody who is here. Thank you, viewers, for watching this video, and we hope you enjoy this work and appreciate the work that we're doing. And we're looking forward to continued contributions to the Dash Core network. Thanks.